does not appear to be the case. Joining Susan, Kathryn Rooney Vera, the Baltic Capital Markets chief strategist. So, Kathryn, to what Susan was just reporting, this notion that the customer is resilient, or it might be just very, very savvy, trying to buy things now that he or she knows are only going to go up in price later. What do you think is going on?
That's absolutely what's going on, and that's correct. It's been front-loaded, so holiday shopping is happening right now because everyone knows that you got to get that doll before it's sold out or before everyone else takes it. The fact is that there's a lot of shortages. There's a lot of lead time because of the supplies and the supply chain disruptions due to the pandemic. So I wouldn't say, Neil, that this is going to be an ongoing thing, or we can expect retail sales to continue this strong if inflation remains above 6%. As Susan said, that's a 30-year high. Nestle just came out saying that costs higher than 5% or increasing in prices higher than 5%. People start to change their methods of purchasing. So certainly if inflation continues, you should expect consumer sentiment to continue to drop. We saw in November, Neil, consumer sentiment plummeted, and that was because of inflation. So as costs go higher, you should expect the consumer to feel the pain and to stop buying.
You know, what's interesting, Susan, too, when you pick apart Walmart's numbers, and what I like about looking at Walmart is it's over a quarter. You could take not just month-to-month gyrations, but overall sales comparable to the exact stores a year prior, up more than 9%, 9.2%. Further, traffic in the stores was up 5.7%, and spending was running up about 3.5% more over last year, even with the higher prices, at that kind of a clip. So that tells you that there's this pent-up, desire to spend when people were kind of frozen in place during the pandemic, improve their balance sheets, but they apparently have the wherewithal to keep this going.
Yeah, and also don't forget e-commerce with people spending online also went up, and that was a tough compare to last year when people were stuck at home during COVID. But here's the problem with Walmart, as I reported to you, is a stock drop because of what they call squishy margins. I mean, because of the backlog, the higher transport costs, and the raw materials going into each and every Walmart item, they are making less per item for Walmart, and that's a big deal when it comes to what Wall Street is looking for. But, Walmart itself, I would say, is being padded, like the rest of the U.S. economy, by the fact that you had $2 trillion in household savings, and that comes from those stimulus packages that we've seen. And eventually, though, that will run out if you're still paying 6% and the highest inflation and price increases in 30 years.
You know, Kathryn, the administration has been using the half-full glass line that this is all happening because they're in a good position to buy, they're upbeat and all of that. Now, some of the consumer sentiment surveys do not bear that out, that they might have been upbeat a couple of months ago, but they're not as upbeat. So that could be waning a little bit. So play out not only the rest of this holiday season, but into early next year. What do you think happens?
Yeah, consumption is 2/3 of the U.S. economy. So it's very important that if the economy is going to continue to recover, that's based off of the U.S. consumer. Inflation digs into purchasing power. So if you're making X amount of money, inflation eats into that. The higher the inflation, the less bang you get for your buck. So inflation is very problematic to the economic recovery. It's been great so far, Neil, because we're coming out of a massive recession where the economy de facto closed. So this is certainly a V-shaped recovery, an explosion of consumption. People are coming out ready to go to the restaurants, ready to go on vacation, renovate their house, do all of these things. But the risk here is that the Fed is way behind the curve on inflation and perhaps increases rates too late. So we have record high equity markets, we have massive fiscal stimulus, massive monetary stimulus, and we have economic recovery that is above 6% in terms of growth this year. Right. So this is very inflationary, and that can start to negatively impact consumer sentiment.
Yeah, Susan, because you don't see it in the markets yet, do you? This panic.
Yeah, well, you know what they say about bull markets, though, Neil? It doesn't die of old age. Right. It dies because of unforeseen events like COVID and also policy mistakes. And, as Kathryn said, we could be seeing that from the Fed. I mean, what do you do when inflation is high? However, you still have lagging employment growth. I mean, that's a tough position to be in.
Yeah, I think everyone has a number in the back of their head about that will stop buying something. For me, ring dings, they get up to $50. Game over. I'm not buying ring dings. Okay. But until then, guys, thank you both very, very much. Good read on what's going on.